Alright, this is our third and final video for Unit 8, Day 2 in our unit on trigonometry, and this one's all about solving right triangles. So today we're going to go toward the end, skip over the stuff we've done, you've practiced, and look at word problems. So back in geometry, seems like forever ago, you learned about two terms in relation to angles and their position inside the picture. So one refers to angle of elevation, the other angle of depression. And the graphic on the right shows what I guess could be a house at the very edge on the right. And say you know certain elements to this scenario. If you're told that you are standing so far away from the house and maybe you look up, so let's say you're in this position. Let me draw where you are. Say you're standing here. And you're standing, let's say, 50 feet from the house. And the problem tells you that the angle of elevation to the top of the house is 30 degrees. All right, that's referring to this angle right here being 30 degrees. I could ask you at that moment, okay, well, how high or how tall is the house? And that's where you would put, say, an X to solve. So hopefully you can see what looks like a right triangle here with the right angle in the bottom right corner. And you would at that point have enough information using trig to be able to solve for that missing piece. And the only other piece I could ask you for is what's the diagonal distance, maybe, from where you're standing to the top edge of the house, so the hypotenuse. All right, so that's angle of elevation. So on the flip side, angle of depression, all right, you're still standing in the same position. I could keep actually that fact that maybe you're standing 50 feet from the base of the house, but then we'll say, okay, well, the angle of depression from the top of the house to where you're standing is 30 degrees. Okay, look at that position. So that actually refers to an angle that's outside of the right triangle that I had highlighted originally here. So that doesn't really help us if we were to use trig. So what you could, and hopefully you remember this from geometry, is if this is your right angle, here's your right triangle. Hopefully you notice what's known as alternate interior angles. The position here and the original angle of depression, those are in congruent positions, meaning the angle of depression is actually congruent to, there's the symbol for congruent, to the angle of elevation and vice versa. Okay, so those angles are congruent in the end. It is important that you, especially when approaching an angle of depression problem, don't put where I had written that 30 degrees in the top corner inside that right triangle, because it would lead you to an incorrect answer. If you think about it, these two angles in the top right should actually be complementary. So that inside angle, it should be 60 degrees. So if you put a 30 there, you'd be way off. So let's apply that to one word problem, and then you can kind of take it from there and practice some on your own. All right, so we're going to do example 1 together, and then there's examples, let's see, 2, and then practice 1 and 2. All right, so a parasailer is attached to a boat with a rope that is 300 feet long. We're going to do our best to just draw a really rough sketch here. So here's the boat. And if you're parasailing, that actually means you're up in the air. Here you are parasailing. And you're attached to the boat with a rope that's 300 feet long. The angle of elevation from the boat to the parasailer is 48 degrees. So you do have to, reasonably try to fit a right triangle within this picture. So we can say, okay, if we drop a line down from where you are, there's a right triangle. and the angle of elevation would go here, 48 degrees. Estimate the parasailor's height, so straight up and down, above the boat, okay, to the nearest foot. So we're going to round to the nearest whole number. All right, so let's label in accordance to, let's look in relation to where we see the 48 degrees. The x, unknown, is opposite, and the 300 that we do know is the hypotenuse. All right, so we refer to SOHCAHTOA. Opposite and hypotenuse is our sine function. So sine of the angle, 48 degrees, equals opposite over hypotenuse. To solve this one, all we have to do is multiply by the denominator, and that'll put the x on the one side on the right by itself. So let's go over to Desmos. Make sure you're in degree mode, not radian. And double check, what is it? 300 times sine 48. 300 times sine 48. 222.943. Okay, and it did say nearest whole number. Okay, so 223. And feet. There's your final answer. Let's try the next one, and then you'll have the practice problems to do on your own. An airplane is flying at a height of 2 miles above ground level. There's my best airplane. There we go. And 2 miles above ground level, so that's the right angle. Okay, it says the angle of depression from the plane to the base of the tree. So there must be a tree down here. Okay, not the artist. All right, now angle of depression, remember, is outside the triangle. From the plane looking down to the line that would connect the two objects. That is 15 degrees, which means the angle of elevation is 15 degrees. And from that position, it's going to help us a little bit more with the trig. What is the distance the plane must fly to be directly above the tree? So to be right there in that position. So that means the horizontal distance is what we're solving for. So I'm going to go ahead and not use the depression position, but the angle of elevation position down here. So from where 15 is near the tree, 15 degrees, 2 miles is opposite. X that we're solving for is adjacent. So, TOA, okay, opposite and adjacent is tangent. So we're going to set up a tangent equation. The angle, 15, equals 2 over x. All right, this is going to require 2 steps because the denominator here is the variable. All right, so we're not going to actually touch our calculators until this next step. We have to divide both sides by the tangent of 15. So I'm going to type into the calculator 2 divided by the tangent of 15. .46. Okay, how are we rounding? Doesn't say. So let's just go with the directions from the last one, I guess, and do whole number. 7.4, so 7. All right, 7 miles. We're looking at units. Fantastic. All right, go ahead and try the examples below and check back with the answer key to see how you did.